Tensions continue to rise between the United States and North Korea as threats continue to be issued back and forth. We're hearing from members of Rhode Island's congressional delegation about the escalating issue. Eyewitness News reporter Jared Pleiner has more on what they had to say live now from the mobile newsroom. Jared.
Well, Mike, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson following up the comments by saying there is nothing that he has seen indicating a dramatic change in the last 24 hours and that Americans should sleep well. But today, a wide-ranging political response to the president's remarks. President Trump with a warning to North Korea if it continues to threaten the United States.
They will be met with fire and fury like the world has never seen.
North Korea responding by indeed threatening preemptive strikes against the U.S. and its Pacific territory of Guam. Rhode Island Congressman David Cicilline back from D.C. on August recess, calling the president's comments counterproductive.
We ought to tone down the rhetoric and tone down the temperature. We don't want to do anything which would escalate this conflict or create a real possibility of a military strike on either side. This is a moment for really smart diplomatic efforts, just like the president was able to do at the UN Security Council. We don't want to create a red line and then have the president feel he's obligated to cross it because he stated it.
New York Republican Peter King says Trump's tone is right.
It was very responsible of the president to say what he did. He was sending a clear signal to North Korea and language they could understand.
And tonight, Defense Secretary James Mattis with a stern warning of his own. The United States and our allies have the demonstrated capabilities and unquestionable commitment to defend ourselves from an attack. Kim Jong-un should take heed of the United Nations Security Council's unified voice and statements from governments the world over who agree the DPRK poses a threat to global security and stability. The DPRK must choose to stop isolating itself and stand down its pursuit of nuclear weapons. The DPRK should cease any consideration of actions that would lead to the end of its regime and the destruction of its people. And Secretary Mattis continuing while the State Department is doing everything pursuing the diplomatic route. Quote, the DPRK regime's actions will continue to be grossly overmatched by ours and would lose any arms race or conflict it initiates. Coming up new at 6 o'clock, we talk to a Naval War College expert. His thoughts on all of this. For now, live in Newport, I'm Jared Pleiner, Eyewitness News.
Tonight, the White House says President Donald Trump's fiery remarks on North Korea yesterday were his own, but says his top advisors knew in advance that he wanted to strike a tough tone. Our Washington, D.C. bureau spoke to one of the president's advisors about North Korea. He says the president will take every measure necessary to protect the U.S.
It is a historic event when all the members of the UN Security Council, including Russia and China, put the most stringent package of sanctions against North Korea we have ever seen. The ball is now in Pyongyang's court. They must de-escalate.
Members of Rhode Island's congressional delegation agree with the economic sanctions, but say the president's tone is not helpful. New at 6, Eyewitness News reporter Jared Pleiner spoke to an expert at Newport's Naval War College. He joins us live from the mobile newsroom. Good evening, Jared.
Good evening, Julianne. What 5, we essentially brought you the political response to this state of affairs. Now analysis from a man who has taught this subject matter for years. He's been at the War College since just after 9/11. The president Tuesday promising fire and fury if North Korea continues to threaten the U.S., the isolated nation following that up with more threats. Marc Genest is a Naval War College professor and an expert on diplomacy, irregular warfare, and terrorism. He says deterrence can play a strategic role.
Your enemy has to realize that if they attack you, that there will be absolutely no benefits to doing so, that they will lose, that there are no winners in a nuclear exchange.
He remembers President Clinton's '93 visit to the demilitarized zone.
Said that in the event of a North attack on the United States or its allies, that country would cease to exist. So this is not unprecedented.
Genest notes the Kim dynasty has threatened the West for decades, testing presidents, ratcheting up rhetoric, then going quiet. And it's important for Americans to recognize the difference between evil and irrational.
This is a bad man, but that does not mean he's insane. His point isn't to go down in a glory of flames. His point is to stay in power.
Genest says North Korea's nuclear program gains have put the U.S. in a much worse bargaining position. And like others, he says China is the avenue here and that military options would be messy, to say the least. Live in Newport tonight, I'm Jared Pleiner, Eyewitness News.